the other way around. The winter season was in Tibet, and then we come back to McCall was the summer season. So it worked good for us.
And when you were with your friends, Paper Legs and your brother, some of those guys, did you have like an inner circle where you had other jumpers around the outside that you didn't talk to, or how did that work? What was that like for you?
Well, it was word of mouth, you know. If you liked somebody and you recommended him to Gar, and then Gar would think it over and then probably accept him. But Gar was the main guy that put these people together.
Did you ever hear of a jumper out of McCall named Art Cochran?
Oh, that's before my time.
He was a long
But
time.
I know who he is.
Yeah.
You know, I was being interviewed by somebody, and he's down in California, I can't think of it. Chuck Sheely. And what Chuck said, when Art Cochran died, well, Chuck said that the information was lost.
Yeah.
So then he met me, and he said, then I renewed his, because I kind of, you know, come in about the same time Art died.
Yeah.
But I didn't know Art.
Yeah. Well, I knew his daughter. She's a nurse for my nephew, who's a quadriplegic. Art's daughter. Art's daughter is a nurse, and she said she and her sisters always referred to their dad as the spy. And she was raised in Okinawa, and Cyprus, and Peshawar.
Raised in Okinawa?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Art Cochran's daughter.
Oh, I think so.
Yeah, he had his family in these different places.
You know, Art run that base there, not Sukaran, but I don't know what's called.
Yeah, yeah.
It's where they put the bundles together and rig parachutes and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, he started out as a smoke jumper because his name is mentioned in Fly the Biggest Piece Back. Art's name is mentioned in Fly the Biggest Piece Back, the story about the Johnson Flying Service. He was one of the jumpers that went down to Wyoming to recover, I think, one of the Johnson's bodies when they had their plane crash.
Yeah, I think that was, I can't think of what that airplane was, but I know the incident.
He was there a long time. He was early, a jumper very early. What do you know? Remember Ray Beasley?
Oh yeah.
Working with him?
Yeah, Ray and I went back to Washington together. And I was out in the States, you know, I didn't even have any clothes. And I told Ray, I says, Ray, I don't have a pair of dress pants or anything, shoes. And he said, don't worry. They spent plenty of money to buy stuff, buy your clothes and stuff. And they did. So Ray and I went back to Washington together.
He told me that you guys used to have your checks go to the bank there in Grangeville?
Yeah, you couldn't cash that check in your hometown. You know, the thing would be, there's nobody ever got a check of $3,000 or $4,000, you know. So, and I knew everybody in McCall, and so I went down to Cascade to cash the check. And damned if they didn't call McCall and get a reference. You know, if I was okay. Because the check would be, you know, like, 25,000 or something like that. Big check, you know.
From after you finish your tour.
What?
It would be for a long period of time of work?
No, short.
Really?
Probably 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
It depended on the weather for the flights.
Yeah. Well, Ray, he sure thinks a lot of you and Paper Legs and Big
Who?
Ed. Ray, he thinks a lot of you guys.
Well, we were close. And, but Ray, when he left the agency, he just kind of dropped out of sight. And I guess there was somebody told me that he just, you know, probably all that stuff was built up inside of him. He couldn't talk to nobody. And I think that kind of got to Ray.
Yeah.
But he loosened up finally. But
Well, you know, he went to work for, he ended up working for the Equipment Development Center in Missouri.
yeah, I know he did.
And in his last job, he developed, got out a new parachute, a longer static line, a new reserve. That was his last job, and then
Yeah.
he retired.
They changed the type of parachute.
Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't like the old simple parachute, you know, that we used to have.
Yeah.
And then they developed, and that's what he was in, development, research and development, Ray was.
Well,
Very knowledgeable person
oh yeah.
when it comes to parachute.
Well, it comes to equipment. I took him in, Ray and I went out to the Montana Military Museum in Helena. Took him in there, we walked in the door, and he goes, there was a soldier dressed in a fire shirt with a shovel. And Ray says, I designed that, and he was, I mean, all this load-bearing gear, all that kind of stuff too. He really knows a lot about that stuff.
He does, one of the best.
Yeah. I told him about a malfunction that I had, and he told me I was lucky to be alive. He's really knowledgeable.
Well, was it a streamer?
No, I went through my static line up in Alaska. It had an extension on it, and I must have gone through my risers, and it pulled my reserve. So my reserve was deployed behind me, and my main was in a balloon over my head. And I couldn't get around to get the reserve off. So I landed with my reserve partly out. I finally had it in front of me, and the main still in a ball. But the reserve pulled my feet up, and I hit the tundra flat on my back. And he said if I hadn't hit tundra, I'd have been in real trouble. That's what he told me.
Broke your leg.
Yeah, he said I broke my back probably, because I landed on my back. So I consider myself lucky.
Well, where'd you jump?
I was jumping out of out of Galena, up on the northern part of Alaska.
Yeah,
and Jack Cahill was the pilot.
I know they had a jump base, or a base there in Galena.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I flew up there in Alaska quite a bit with Intermountain, C-46.
Well, that's what I jumped out of. They had a big wide cargo door on the back, and they had been getting rubber marks on the top of the canopy.
That sounds like the, I forget what they call those airplanes. Argosy.
Could have been. I
The
don't
old
know.
Argosy, Canadian.
Is that what it was? But it was a big wide door, and then the horizontal stabilizer seemed much lower.
Yeah.
So I was trying to get under it, and I just fouled up big time, you know.
Yeah, that's where the Argosy went. The guy that was the foreman up there was, what's his name? Smokejumper foreman. I was one of the first smoke jumpers that went to Alaska. There was, I think, 3, 6 or 7 from McCall, and the rest were from Missoula. And I didn't like it.
Why?
I don't know, it just didn't. It was different. You know, John Lewis and I went up together. John was killed over in Laos. Him and Yogi Eubanks and the other third guy, I didn't know him. And the pilots, I didn't know them either. Pilot and co-pilot. But I can't even think what they was killed in Laos.
Yeah.
I think a place called Pacau. They hit a car, wingtip hit a car, spun them around.
I mean, is that like a cliff?
Yeah, John Lewis jumped out of that airplane, but he didn't have a damn parachute on. He never did wear a parachute when we was kicking cargo or anything. I don't know why he didn't. Damn, I did, I wouldn't. Too hazardous, on that kind of flying. Pilots, they were screwed. They couldn't get out. They lost a C-46, one of the first ones that they lost. I can't think who the crews were now, but they were all killed. Pilot, co-pilot, and the 3 jumpers was on board. John Lewis was one. And have you talked to Jack Cahill?
I'm going to try to see him this weekend.
Yeah, he'll remember a lot of that stuff. It's hard to forget.
Did you, where were you working when you got shot? What base?
Laos. Well, once when I was in the Marine Corps, I picked up some shrapnel.
In Korea?
Yeah. And then the wound that I got over in Laos, it was pretty significant. It was hit in my sciatic nerve. And that shrapnel keep moving around. So I didn't know really what to do when I went to the doctor to tell him, because it was a classified sort of a thing. So I went to a doctor over here in, I don't know, Wieser, I think. And I had him take that shrapnel out because it would move around in there, and then my sciatic nerve. I didn't know what it was, but it was something. So he took that shrapnel out, and then that was it. It cured it. It was in that nerve. That nerve runs up and down your...
Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah.
Big time. Yeah.
But what upset me about the whole thing, I had to figure it out on my own. There's medical staff and stuff like that. They didn't know. So, and then when I had it taken out, I didn't go to the hospital like I should have. I had the doctor take it out in his office. They give me a local anesthesia and stuff like that. Because I was afraid to let a cat out of the bag or something.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't even let it bother me.
Well, do you ever read any of the books that have been written?